Hey everyone, this is Rabbitearsblog, and welcome to my top 10 graphic novels of 2016 list. Now, I've wanted to do this list since last year in December, but I got a little lazy, so I didn't was able to make this video till just recently. But to start off the new year, I'm gonna list off the top 10 graphic novels I read in 2016 that I really enjoyed, and I'll also talk about the ratings I gave each graphic novel. So, starting with here we go, starting with the list. And two of the graphic novels I already own, so I'll probably just show it to you in the camera. The others I'll just grab pictures and showcase to you. But yeah, here are my top 10 graphic novels of 2016. So starting with number 10, we got Garfield, Lord of the Jungle by Jim Davis. So I've been reading the Garfield comics for a long time, and of course I actually read two Garfield books this year, and one of them was Garfield Lord of the Jungle, and I happened to pick that one over the other Garfield book I read this year because I did prefer the adventures in that story a little more than I did in the one in the other Garfield book, and it's just basically detailing Garfield's adventures with John, Odie, and I think Liz is in this volume too. Liz, the veterinarian, starts excuse me, starts showing up in the later comic strips. So I really enjoy the stories with Garfield, John, and Odie. It's still the same type of humor you saw in Garfield, even from the early years, and I really enjoyed that. So it's just a comic book that makes me laugh out loud, and I've really enjoyed this book. And I gave Garfield Lord of the Jungle 5 stars. So moving on to number 9, we got Leo, There's a Monster in My Socks by Mark Tatalui. So this is the first time I actually read the Leo newspaper comics. Usually most of the newspaper comics I ever read was Garfield and Peanuts. So Leo was this was the first year I ever read a Leo comic book, and I really enjoyed it. What I really liked about this graphic novel is that it has vibes of Tim Burton's work mixed with black comedy all together. You have scenes of Leo owning all these monsters and not being afraid of any of these monsters when any regular person would be terrified of these monsters. And then you got some scenes in the book where it has Leo thinking of world domination, where he tries to build his toys to take over the world. So yeah, he looks very innocent in this particular comic book series, but the fact that he keeps monsters around his pets and that he has thoughts about world domination makes this a really great read if you're into black comedy such as this one, or if you like Tim Burton's works and you like the fact that Tim Burton's able to combine comedy with horror. Leo's the same way, and I would highly recommend this book. And I gave Leo, There's a Monster in My Socks 5 stars. So moving on to number 8, we got Light by Rob Cham. So I actually got this graphic novel from NetGalley. This is also the first year I started using the reading system called NetGalley. For all you book readers out there, you know how you try to get up to that 80% goal. That's what I'm going to try to do for NetGalley myself this year. But anyway, for 2017. But anyway, on to Light by Rob Cham. This was a book that is basically wordless. It doesn't really have any text, so they use the artwork to illustrate the story, or they use the artwork to pretty much tell the story of this white looking thing that looks like one of the creatures from the Jeff Smith's Bone series, going on this journey to retrieve this special diamond, or the special jewel. And along the way he meets up with this this really cute shadowy creature who looks a little bit like Celebi from Pokemon, and they go on this dangerous journey through the darkness to bring this gem that's going to bring light to the world. So my thoughts about this particular graphic novel is that I thought it was amazing. I thought the artwork was very well done. I like the fact that you were able to tell, read the story just through the artwork, and the artwork did a good job of telling the story about these two travelers trying to find light for the world by finding this gem that can bring light to the world. And I like the fact that the story can be both scary and both adventurous at the same time. So that was something I really enjoyed about this graphic novel. And I gave Light by Rob Cham 5 stars. So moving on to number 7, we got Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. So a lot of my book friends recommended me this book Nimona by Noelle Stevenson, and at first I was kind of holding off this book because I had so many other great graphic novels to read at the time. But then when I finally got around to reading Nimona, I was blown away by the story. Like, it's about this little girl named Nimona who possesses these deadly powers where she can shapeshift into anything, and she wanted to be a villain, so she ends up partnering with this villain named Blackheart, I believe. If I got the name wrong, I'm sorry. It's been a while since I looked at the book, but anyway, she pairs off with this villain who has a grudge against this guy who against one of the knights of the Queen's army. And it appears, it is suggested they were in a relationship or somewhat. I can't tell by how they were suggesting it, but anyway, it turns out that the villain ends up having to save the day when something happens in the midway through the story, and I won't tell you what happens midway through the story, so I won't spoil the book for you. But I really enjoy this book. Like, I thought the artwork was very cute. I like the way how we see scenes of Nimona transforming into a dragon and to other creatures too, to blend in with the crowd or to use her shape shifting powers to fight off the forces of the knights. I also love the relationships between the characters, especially between Nimona and the villain. I like that this is the type of tale that takes a twist on what we come to expect from the good guy, who's the bad guy. So I really enjoyed that aspect of this story, and I definitely would like to read the story again whenever I get the chance. So I gave Nimona by Noelle Stevenson 5 stars. Moving on to number 6. And we got, now this is the book I bought. Oh, something dropped there. Anyway, this is the book I dropped, and it's Archie, the New Riverdale by Mark Waid. So, excuse me, I will admit that I was a little hesitant to try this book out because I love Archie comics. I've read Archie comics ever since I was small, and when I heard that they were going to make a reboot about this series, I was like, do we really need a reboot of this series? I thought this reboot was I thought the Archie series was perfect the way it was. But then I read Mark Waid's one, and I really enjoyed. I came to really love this book, and basically what this graphic novel is about is it starts off with Archie and Betty breaking up because of an incident where Betty tried to make herself look more feminine, and Archie didn't like that, and they ended up arguing over it, and that's how they broke up. And excuse me, we start seeing like how Archie and Betty are trying to cope with being broken up. And then Veronica comes to town and she starts stealing Archie's heart. And then we start seeing that small rivalry between Betty and Veronica. So that's what this graphic novel is all about. And what I love so much about this graphic novel is that it knows how to be like faithful to the original series. Like, I thought when they do the reboot Archie, it was going to be something undistinguishable. You know, it's not going to be like the Archie comics we all grew up with, because in this comic book series, Archie's still the lovable, clumsy guy he is in the original comics. Betty's still his next door neighbor. Veronica's the new girl who eventually moves in and steals Archie's heart. So that's some aspects they managed to keep in this comic book run. It's just there's a more modern spin on this, and that's what I really loved about this comic, and it made so high on my list because it was just so unexpected. I didn't expect to love this comic like I did, and I highly recommend you check this comic book out, especially if you're looking for a really good reboot of Archie comics. This is like one of the best reboots I've seen so far. So I definitely recommend this. And I gave Archie the New Riverdale Volume 1 5 stars. And that was number 6. So moving on to number 5, we got Generation Zero, We Are the Future Volume 1 by Fred Van Lente. This was another graphic novel I got from the gallery, and I came to really love this graphic novel because it was like the X-Men except with a little twist to it. But let's talk about what the story is all about first. So the story starts off with a young teenage girl named Keisha Sherman who moves into a town named Michigan Work. And she ends up getting a relationship with this boy named Steven. And just as their relationship gets higher, Steven ends up getting killed in a car crash. And Keisha starts suspecting that something caused the car crash that killed Steven. Like, she thinks somebody murdered Steven, and that's why she ends up enlisting the help of this team of teenagers called Generation Zero. And it turns out these kids have superpowers that Keisha's not that Keisha soon discovers, and then we were introduced to the mystery aspect of their characters. We don't know. We know that they were created for weapons as mass destruction, but it turns out that they broke free and they're fighting in this war against some mysterious force, and they're trying to make a better life for themselves and everybody they come in contact with. So that's basically the gist of the first volume, Generation Zero. So I really enjoy this volume. Like, I never thought I would enjoy this story. Like, I think it's a really good story if you're an X-Men fan, especially if you love reading comic books that's about characters who have superpowers and use them to fight off the forces of evil. So I really was interested in this comic book, and I can't wait to see more from this comic book. So I gave Generation Zero, We Are the Future, Volume 1, 5 stars. And that was number 5. Moving on to number 4, we got Paper Girls, Volume 1 by Brian K. Vaughan. So I've heard some good things about Paper Girls, and I was interested to see what this book was going to be all about. So what Paper Girls essentially is about a group of girls who are like news girls, or they give people their newspapers, you know, like the Paper Boy, their Paper Girls, and they give out the newspapers to the people in the neighborhood. And basically it details that they're living in the 1980s, so you're going to be seeing a lot of 1980s references throughout this book. And midway through the story, we get to see aliens attacking them, and they're trying to figure out, you know, why is this all happening? Where do these aliens come from? And what do they want with them? So that's pretty much the gist of the story so far, is that it starts off with these paper girls going on newspaper routes, and then these aliens come and attack them, and they're trying to figure out, you know, what's going on, why these aliens attacking them. So I really ended up enjoying this book, like not only because excuse me, was it a very well written story about friendship among the paper girls, but I also like the 1980s references to it. Like, even though I'm a 1990s baby, you know, I did like the 1980s references that made it within that story, such as mentioning movies like Freddy, the Nightmare on Elm Street series, which was a popular movie back in the 1980s. So I was really impressed with that. And I like the little twists in the middle of the story about the aliens attacking, because you read the story at the beginning, you never would have thought that it's going to twist into something like involving aliens as the plot. But that's what I like about Brian K. Vaughan's works, is that he you know, you don't expect you expect the unexpected from his work. And I like that twist in the middle about the aliens coming to attacking the girls when you know, there was no excuse me, there was no hints about it at the beginning. So I really enjoy Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan, and I gave Paper Girls Volume 1 5 stars, and that was number 4. So moving on to number 3, we got Miss Marvel No Normal Volume 1 by G. Willow Wilson. So in this volume, we're introduced to Kamala Khan, who's a Muslim girl living in a regular town, and she starts fantasizing about becoming a superhero. Like, she wants to become like Miss Marvel and have powers and save the world. And midway through the story, it turns out that the Terrigen Mist ends up coming to her town and ends up giving her powers, and she ends up being mentored somewhat by Miss Marvel, by Captain Marvel, and she ends up getting all these powers. Excuse me, and Vanya spends time Kamala trying to develop her powers and trying to figure out what she's going to use her powers for, like, to save the forces of, to like fight the forces of evil, and just find her own way through her own town, or find her own destiny in a way. So I really enjoy this volume. Like, I think it's a great way to introduce a more diverse character to the franchise. Like, it really had a lot of Muslim characters in the superhero comic books, and I think it was fantastic that they introduced a Muslim character as a superhero in the form of Miss Marvel. And that was probably the best part about this comic book for me, is that we have a diverse character in the lead, and I like how she's written. I think, she's not written as any stereotypical diverse character. She's written as a character who just wants to be a superhero, but is also trying to deal with her own identity, and whether or not she wants to be a normal girl, or just have her own superpowers just so she could be somebody that she could be her own person. So I like the sense of the theme of identity the story presents, and I think it's very well done. And I can't wait to read more from Miss Marvel. No, from the Miss Marvel series, and I really enjoyed this volume. So I gave Miss Marvel No Normal Volume 1 5 stars, and that was number 3. So moving on to number 2, and we got I Hate Fairyland Madly Ever After, Volume 1 by Scotty Young. So, what happens in this story? So basically, the book stars a little girl named Gertrude, who ends up being sucked into the world of fairyland. And in order to get out of that place, she has to find these keys that would open up a door to her way out. Unfortunately, Gertrude spent like 20 years in Fairyland, and she can't find a way to find the key. So she ends up killing all the citizens of Fairyland just to find that key. And that's what this volume is basically about. It's about Gertrude, who's a young girl who got trapped in Fairyland for 20 years, and she ends up killing all the citizens just to get to that key to get her out of that land. So what are my thoughts about this book? I love this book. It's a great deconstruction about what we come to expect from Fairyland in general, or fairy tales in general. And I like the fact that the main character is like a ex-crazy girl who kills everything in her sight just so she could get that key to get out of there. And I like the tongue-in-cheek humor of this particular graphic novel. And there's a lot of violent moments. See, if you see the back, you see an image of the moon getting blown up. See if you can see that. But yeah, you see a lot of violent images in this book, and that's what's so fun about it. So I've really enjoyed I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young, and I gave I Hate Fairyland Volume 1 6 stars. That was number 2. So moving on to my number 1 graphic novel picks, and it was 2 graphic novels, so I couldn't decide between one of them. And that was, of course, Saga Volumes 5 and Volume 6. So basically, in these 2 books, we see Alana, Marco, and Hazel escape into outer space and still trying to find a new home for themselves. And it turns out that they end up. It turns out that Alana and Marco end up getting separated after the big fight in Volume 4. And after they got separated, they try to find each other, and they even once they find each other, they ended up losing Hazel in the process. Midway through the 5th volume, and the 6th volume is spent on Hazel being in school and trying to learn everything about the world around her, and her parents, Alana and Marco, still trying to find Hazel and bring her back home. So what are my thoughts about this particular both of these books? Well, Saga has always remained my number 1 favorite graphic novels every year, because I just love the storytelling. I think Brian K. Vaughan did a fantastic job in developing these characters, and I love the development that Hazel is going through. I like the fact that she starts off as a baby, but then she starts growing into this little girl who's trying to figure out about the world around her and why things are the way they are. And I like the fact in the 6th volume, she has a teacher who really understands where she's coming from, and how she tries to teach Hazel about the world, and about how she can learn more stuff and learn about who she is as a person. And I also like the fact that we're still seeing more of the romance between Alana and Marco, despite their big fight in Volume 4, and how they try to band together and fight and find Hazel, their daughter. So I like how the characters are being developed in this universe. I like how, despite Alana and Marco fighting at one point, they still try to remain together for the sake of their baby, and because it shows that they truly do love each other, and I really love that. I like seeing the romance between Alana and Marco and seeing how close they are, and I also enjoy seeing the character development with Hazel, how she goes from a baby to a little girl who's trying to figure out more about her surroundings and what she can do about this world where the two worlds are at war at each other. So I gave both Saga Volume 5 and Saga Volume 6 6 stars, and that was my number one pick. So that's my top 10 graphic novels in 2016. I hope you enjoyed this list. I hope I do it for 2017 once I read up a more great graphic novels for this year. And tell me in the comments below, what were some graphic novels that you read for 2016? And what were your favorites? Please feel free to comment below, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter so I can keep you updated any new videos I post up. And also, like my Facebook page, Rabbitearsblog's Best Comments. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Rabbitearsblog, and I'll see you later.